Yo, present moment, Bryce the Third here, and I just want to give you context for this episode you're about to listen to. It is absolutely phenomenal, and is actually the first ever live recording of You Feel That? It was a phenomenal episode. I had my guy Torrey Gray on, and we're just gonna get straight into the episode. For those watching on YouTube, I did not get any video, so that is, as an entrepreneur, you know, we learn, we pivot, and we figure it out. And the way that I got the video, it just didn't work how I wanted it to. So this will be a completely audio episode. So if you're on YouTube, it's gonna just be the steal of the logo. But if you're just using your ears to consume this podcast, you will not notice the difference. I hope, scratch hope. I know that you're gonna enjoy this episode. There's so many gems in it. So without further ado, let's go. How many of y'all have never been to like something where it's like somebody's trying to show you how to do something, like how to change your life in 5 easy steps, or like you pick up this book like how to be an accountant, or how to be an artist, or how to, like, how many of y'all had that experience where it's like y'all done came across that type of material?
For sure.
So for those who can't see, a lot of hands went up, and what I've learned is that we can't tackle the how to until we tackle the foundation, like until we understand what our intentions are, like what we intend to do, what our what we want, who we are. All the how-tos in the world ain't gonna matter, right? Because there's something underneath that, which is like a relationship with ourselves that we're beginning to cultivate. And so the self-care is where that comes into play, where we begin this conversation with ourselves to figure out like what it is that we want, what we would like to happen with our lives, what it is that we intend to do with our lives, and begin to develop direction around those questions. And then we can add some how-tos, because until we had that conversation with ourselves, the how-tos are I don't know about y'all, but they're not that effective. Because if I don't know who it is that I am, how do I know what it is that I want to do to figure out how to do it, if that makes sense? So we will get into the podcast recording, and this is history. Welcome everybody to the first live episode of You Feel That.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you feel that?
You are now tuned into You Feel That with Bryce the Third.
All right, so today on You Feel That, the podcast where we turn your I can'ts into I got this by providing you with all the tools spiritually, emotionally, and mentally to be empowered no matter what field you are in. We are live here in the city of Warren off of 8 Mile at the Looking Glass Studio, the Grid, and I have my good friend here, Tori Gray,
Hey,
as my guest.
What's going on? I got claps. Yeah, I like this.
So Tori, I'm a mastermind. I got a couple of intentions for this conversation.
Okay.
But let's first start off with who are you? Who is Tori Gray? In whatever way you want to answer that question.
So Tori Gray is an entrepreneur, artist, owner of Define Detroit. We work with artists and entrepreneurs, giving people a platform to speak on, studio time, a lot of stuff with the Grid, partnering with Sev up here, just doing events. But yeah, ultimately, I'm just a person, just a dude. So
Just a dude.
Yeah,
Well, how's your energy today, bro?
it's good, man. I just made $25,000, and I'm realizing that I got to figure out what I want to do with that money now before I actually get it, because I don't actually have it yet, if that makes sense.
No, that's not a bad problem to have.
Yeah. So, I was connecting with something you said earlier about like the fundamentals. So, yeah, I'm interested to see where this is gonna go. What your intentions are for this one. I'm excited, and thank you for having me on the first. It's the first live one, right?
It's the first live one ever,
First
bro.
live one, yeah.
It's the first live one ever.
All right, bet.
Yeah. Make some noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, usually, I'm not against giving away the secrets, and I like to make things look bigger than they are. but like most of these recordings of these podcasts take place in this little tiny closet in my living room that I've decked out with LED lights. And so it feels good to like get outside and like be amongst people and get the energy, get the reaction from the crowd, and just really like share this journey of emotional and mental wellness, of transparency, of being open and honest about the ways that we feel, and using those feelings in a way that empower us, like with everybody here for real. So
Yeah.
And so speaking on that, when you talking about all the things that you are, but you're just a human, and I know you personally, right? So like I know you've had a personal experience with these things that you've positioned yourself to be seen as in the community, but behind that being like, but I do everything. Like, so with entrepreneurship, with business, like I know how important it is to position yourself to where people know you as, oh, you're the rapper guy, or oh, you're the poet, or oh, you put the events together, or oh, you're the artist, you paint, or you this or you that. Right. And I think that's something that like artists in the community can struggle with when it's like, no, like there's so many more dynamics. Like who I am is way more dynamic than what it is that you've come to know me as. Right. And so like what has been the process of you developing that relationship with yourself as well as your work? Like what is that like for you?
So I mean it's a journey. It's been an interesting journey. Like I've come to the point where I'm realizing like I'm a creative, you know, like I create things. It's not limited to art. I create opportunities, you know. I enjoy creating platforms. I enjoy helping people do the same thing. So I've dealt with it to where it's like I feel uncomfortable when people see me and expect, like they've seen me in one space, and so they think that I'm that person, and I am. But like I don't know. I be dealing with like the expectations that people have, because it's like we live in a world where it's a lot of access to a lot of different things. So it's kind of like you have to balance like your energy. Like, you don't want to spread yourself too thin, but you also don't want to limit yourself. So I've been just trying to understand like how to do that over the past like 9 years since I've been out of high school and into the real world. So yeah, it's like I said, it's been a journey.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure like you've been going your whole life with people expecting you to hoop because you tall like
Man,
you tall.
what?
So there's the expectations to overcome, where it's like you tall but you don't hoop.
And it's a crazy like nuance with that, because like for a long time I did hoop, and then I stopped because I'm like, I don't even know if I want to do this. Like, I'm tall, and like so I know I have the potential to do that, but like what if I don't want to do that? And then I stopped doing it, and I was like, no, I'm gonna go back and do that. But I felt like I was like, a part of me was like, damn, this is exactly what they expect me to do, and it made me not want to do it. So, but
he's a rebel,
huh?
I said he's a rebel.
A what?
A rebel.
Oh, rebel. Yeah. I guess. I guess. But
so when you speak about these expectations of you from the community, when you show up in these spaces, and that you kind of deal with some of these things, and I think we had a conversation the other day, like last time I checked, I think this number had went up. I always quote the number that there's 7 billion people in the world, and what I've come to find out and discover about like realities is that everybody is actually living in their own like world, right? And that helps me to have compassion and understanding for people, because when things happen, it allows for me to not take it as personal as I would as if like, oh, you understand that I would take this personal because in my world that's some stuff that you wouldn't do to somebody,
right?
But it's like it allows for compassion, because it's like, oh, like whatever the context was that led you to who it is that you are at this very moment has led you to make this decision that you made,
right? Which
affected me in this way that it affected me. But I'm living in my world and you living in your world, right?
Yeah, everybody's seeing it from a different angle.
Yeah.
So I think realizing that gave me the opportunity to like have compassion, like for that. So like when I had a situation where it was like dealing with a friendship where, based off of a communication, we could have just assumed it was what it was and went separate ways. But choosing to actually sit down and talk about it, like, helped me to realize, like literally, like, what the situation was for them was a completely different thing for me. Like we just like in two different spaces, and based off like a series of like miscommunications, it became like a issue. But we just had to talk about it, and I think that's the key, like communication. Like we all have to be willing to talk to each other in order to continue to grow relationships and not be ready to like bounce at the first sign of like difficulties, and you know.
Yeah. And like with that, like I think that's the conundrum of interpersonal relationship, because what I come to the table with is all of the experiences that have made up my context for living thus far. So, and what you come to the table with is all the experiences that make up the context of what you understand life is. And then you put those two things together, and there's bound to be some misses, right?
Right.
But then, like, what I wanted to double down on is, like, in your reality, like, how much do you think those expectations from the external world or from the communities of you to be all these things are like a real thing, and how much of those things, I won't say a real thing, I'm trying to figure out like what language I want to use. How much of that do you think is just something that you're perceiving? Like how much of that do you think is like in your head?
Like in my mind, I expect them to
your expectations are placed upon you by yourself.
Yeah.
Like how much do you think that's the case?
It's a matrix of expectations, because I could be thinking that they expect me to do something, and because I'm thinking that, I do things that cause them to really start expecting me to do that. And I think I'm confused about what just even happened. So, but I try. I mean, for me personally, I know for a fact people expect me to play basketball. I hear that every day. And I did, but I don't like telling people that. But other things like I don't know, like I make music, I rap, but I don't necessarily like. I'm not gonna be the person to come out and freestyle like and just jump into like a cipher or nothing like that. I be feeling like we had that one situation like where we was at a party and the cipher broke out, and like we coming from two different angles on that right there. Like you rose to it, and I think we talked about that the other day. And then me, I was like, I'm gonna just disappear into the shadows and like watch from a distance. And that's just my personal, like I'm somebody who like I don't necessarily enjoy being the center of attention. So I've had to like deal with that, like being, 6'6", going to a white school, being the only black kid, like, because of these experiences I've had. I've learned that me personally, I just don't like being the center of attention all the time, like most of the time, which has been kind of a paradox being a musician, an artist, but
like literally sitting in the middle of the room right now having a conversation publicly with spotlights on his face.
Yeah, but like this is a part of the thing though. So like I know when I have to do it, and I don't necessarily like mind doing it. Like sometimes I even enjoy it. But like if I have like a list of like priorities that make me happy, like it's not gonna be like being in people's faces like that. Like, but yeah, as far as the expectation thing, bro, I don't know. How could I know like how much of the expectations that other people think, like how could I know what they thinking? Like I don't know if they might think what I think, they might not think what I think. I mean,
I think at the end of the day, like this is like the practice, right? Like the process of being aware, and being a participant in the experience versus being like, I know you've seen somebody before that is just swept up. Like there's no cognitive diffusion. There's no like pullback that allows me to see myself as a player. It's just like, no, this is life.
Introspection.
Like, yeah. So the process of having that introspection, like that's the reason I made this podcast, is because like I've always had like a very active mind, one that looks upon itself, that looks upon itself.
Same.
Yeah.
The earliest example I can think of is like being a little kid. Like I used to get disciplined, right? So like I do something bad, my mom, spank me or whatever. And like I remember just I got to that point where it was like, all right, bro, like I'm gonna cry, but like it's a part of me that's like, bro, just do the dance. It's gonna be over in a minute. And then, you'll cry. And then it's just like, it's a part of me that's just like I'm there, but I'm not there type shit. So, and I think that, I don't know, that's you can call it what you want to call it, introspection, consciousness.
I'm gonna call that trauma, but you know,
yeah. Well,
you had to disassociate to get your ass whooped and allow for the ass whooping and not be there because it sucks, you know,
right?
And then come back when it's over with,
right? But like going forward, it's a lot of situations. It's like not like just shitty situations, like just what it is, where it's like I'm going through the suck right now. I'm going through the suck, but like, you know, this is just a moment. It's not forever.
Oh,
so
man.
Push through it.
So I think we just hit upon something that I'm currently experiencing in my life.
Word.
So, and I was just talking to my daughter about this earlier, where she kept asking me like, well, when are people going to show up? When are people going to show up? And it's like, so daddy doesn't ask himself these questions because like as an entrepreneur, or like a creative, like I can't focus on the uncontrollabilities because then like there's an unneeded anxiety that comes with that where if I just show up and I just know that I'm doing the best that I can, like that allows for me to like fully have the experience. But I think we was talking about this the other day too, where it's like I've learned to do this thing where I almost minimize like things that would be important to me, like you know, like meeting somebody or like somebody meeting a woman or like getting a gig or getting I approach it like you know, it's cool if it works out, you know, I'm gonna do my best and allow for whatever happens to happen, right? But what ends up happening is like it's a mute, like it's like almost like a snub on it, so it prevents me. It does protect me from like letdowns. It does protect me from like disappointments, which there's a lot of those when it comes to entrepreneurship, because like we're always trying to figure out like how this thing is gonna work, and our pivot game has to be on point, right? Right. But also like when things go great, like there's a snub there too. Like I can't take it off. You know what I'm saying? So like, there's a snub there that keeps me from getting hurt and getting disappointed.
But does it keep you from trying, like from giving it everything you have?
No, I don't know.
Probably do.
I don't know. So I don't know.
Sometimes, yeah.
I don't know. It may be.
That's something I noticed when I was younger too. Like at some point, it became like not cool to like try hard. Like I guess mainly coming from like the varsity athlete part of my life is like as we all grew older as a team, I noticed that. And like I get it, like it's a terrible feeling, like when you really put everything you have into something and it just doesn't work. Like in that moment, it's just not working, and you realize that it's like fuck. Like I've had that in sports, I've had that in with Define Detroit. You know, Sev, you know, having certain events where you know, like you don't get the turnout that you want to, and it's crazy because like you really feel like people need it, but like. Part of what you're saying is necessary, like that mute, because it's like that allows you to be like, okay, if this works out, that's cool. If it don't, then it don't. But because I'm doing this with the intention of, you know, whatever it is, and not the intention of having people like see it, you feel me? Then that you can kind of put that mute up, if that makes sense.
So yeah, I mean, so like. Yeah, it's kind of like the adage of planting seeds, right? Yeah. So instead of throwing an event and it's like this crazy thing that I want it to be, and like that's kind of like planting a seed and then sitting and watching if the seed grow into a plant. Where it's like I've turned the process into something where it's like everywhere I go I'm just planting seeds. Everywhere I go I'm just planting seeds. And if the seed grows, then really and truly like how much did I play? Like all I can do is plant the seeds. That's the only controllability that I have. And so in planting the seeds, like that becomes the process versus sitting down and watching to see if the seeds grow into a plant. You see what I'm saying?
Facts.
So
that can relate to a lot of things too. Like I think I can't remember it right now, but I had a poem that was basically referring to like the person as a seed, and it's like, am I just staying by this seed to see it grow? Like I should be able to step away and just appreciate the fact that it's growing, but like. Yeah,
and I mean, even like with seeds, there are some seeds that might not grow. Mm-hmm. Like we might plant a seed and it might not turn into shit.
Yep.
And what I've learned is like being a teacher or being a contribution to spaces, we can tend to place our value and our worth on if this seed grows or not. But it's really not on me what the seed does. Because like there's so much process into a seed, like photosynthesis and taking advantage of the resources that's put in front of it and like the type of seed that it is. Like there's so much that I don't have control over. What I have control over is just putting the seed there. Right. But if I sit there and watch the seed and then place my value on if the seed grows or not, then it's like, then that's when it becomes heartbreaking. Yeah. And like going back to entrepreneurship and like creations and the babies that we create. Cause like when you think about like a book or an album or a poem or an event, like these is babies. Right. Like these starting here. Like, exactly. So, and when we bring them into fruition, when we create these things, like this is like, I just birthed this thing, you know? And if we attach our worth to if this thing works out or not, I think there's a potential like of like a spiritual letdown. Yeah. And that's one of those things where we look for, I don't know about y'all, but I've had the experience of like looking for validation in things externally. Yep. Where it's like, you know, and even like, so last year was the most traveled year in my life. And I was having this experience. I just went to Houston, a pretty prominent band. They flew me out there, all expenses paid. And this is my first time getting like a publishing deal and like, you know, went out there and did my shit and, you know, didn't have to pay for food and kicking it with the coolest people, lined up with like a band. We doing, I feel like a backup singer. It was like 3 mics and I got like 2 backup singers. I'm standing next to, like, it was just crazy. It was a crazy experience.
Congrats on that, by the way.
Yeah, appreciate that. Appreciate that. But what day was it? It was Tuesday, and there was a couple of other things that was going on in my life. But like I had a fucking crying spell, like in a hotel. And it was like a purge of, because I wasn't feeling nothing. Like I wasn't feeling anything. And I felt like, okay, because I come from working at a plant, like an assembly plant, and like doing something that's totally unrelated to who it is that I see myself as being. Yeah. And my dream was to just get up out of there, right. You know, and I had these goals and these things I wanted to create. And now I'm in the midst of living a life that everything that I wanted, like I have it, but it was this moment, like, why don't I feel something? Why don't I feel something? And it really was like a realization or like a punch to the chest to let me know, like, oh, that's because you were looking for this thing to click, like something externally coming outside of yourself. Yeah,
it just happened. Fuck.
Yeah, you've arrived.
Yeah, right.
It's like, no, like it's not about the arrival, it's about the becoming.
Yeah, and like understanding that you already there for real. Like, going back to what I said earlier, like I made $25,000. You made $25,000 too, by the way. Like as soon as you applied for that shit and walked out, like I'm done. We applied at the same time. I was like, damn. Like I felt like I watched you. I'm like, damn, this nigga just made $25,000 and just walked out like a G. Like that. I think I always remember that day. But I brought it up because it's like I could be like, oh, you know, I put in all this work, you know, and they looking for an artist with community impact and like good music, and I'm that. I'm him. I put on this work, I'm gonna get this money, and then get there, I don't get this money. But if I'm already moving, like I have the money, it doesn't fucking matter if I get the money. And it's also like a cool situation because like they don't announce the winners until like July. So it's this big ass gap of time where like I can't just not be doing shit, because if I'm just going off of all the shit that I said I was doing last year, and they look at my application and they like, okay, let's see what he's doing right now, and I'm just like, nah, I'm like at the couch, on the couch watching TV, watching Netflix. They like, you know what I'm saying? So I have to continuously put in the work, and because of that, because I'm going to be continuously putting in the work, if I get the money, it's cool. If I don't, I'm gonna still be straight, because I'm still be making moves. I'm still be doing what I'm doing.
So to get a listener's context and to get an audience context, there's this fellowship in the city of Detroit called the Kretzky Fellowship, and it's an application. It's $25,000 award for artists in the city, and you don't have to pay it back. It's not like a grant where it's like there's stipulations to, like, you have to show I'm doing this project, and then when they give you the money, you have to report on the project. It's just like, here, money for you to be able to create how you want to create.
Just free money.
And and as long as I've been here in the city, like, I ain't never heard of this damn fellowship.
The only thing is, like, they kind of want to know what you want to do with the money, but it's not like you have to like follow through with that. They just kind of like probably just want to see where your head is type thing. So but
and we both applied. He put me up on it. We applied for it, and it'd be dope to get that phone call. Yeah. I mean, one of them other things where it's like you plant those seeds. You plant the seed, and I can't sit there and watch it. Because if I sit there and watch it, like then my worth is in the seed. Like so, when I get that, when they let me know that I won, it's like now I'm worth like even more because I won. But no, I was like worth it. Before, when we sat down, you have to put down like a resume of like what it is that you've done.
That's eye opener right there.
And as artists, and even like talking to Mila and the stuff that like she goes through, and like the experiences that she had, and like how just moving. As artists, like we always kind of feel like people ask me like, "What's up? Like, what are you doing? What are you working on?" It's like, oh shit, I feel like I gotta kind of like what am I working on? And that's where my worth is. And like looking at my resume, like as artists, we can tend to never really stop and appreciate the shit that we've done. And like looking at my resume and the things that I've done and I've contributed to,
damn, I gotta write
it was wild. And he had a lot of footage of the stuff we did together. And it was back when I had hair, and I was like, damn, stop playing that footage. And Sev shot the footage, and Sev had this thing about doing slow-mo footage on me, and just receding hairline and slow-mo footage. But it was out cold to like purposely sit down and chronicle like all of the things I've been doing since 2015. And it's like, whoa, like we've been doing some shit. But the whole thing is it doesn't fucking feel like it if we don't stop and appreciate it.
Right.
If we don't stop and appreciate it. And what's crazy is like it's almost like a balancing act. Because if I know a lot of people in the creative circuit that will be like, yeah, I did such and such and such back in 1995. And it's like, yeah, okay. But I don't know you. I'm from a different generation. Like, what are you doing? Oh, yeah, I was back on with them and them. Like, nah, but yeah, that's cool. But what do you do? What have you done? So it's like if we rest on our laurels, if we sit back, like our work won't continue to speak for itself. Right. So it's like it's that balancing act.
Right.
But I think what's most important emotionally is to not place our worth in none of that shit.
Right. And what's crazy is I know for a fact that there's some artists out there that probably knew about it and just assume that they, I might, I don't got the qualifications. But, like, the dope thing about even just applying for that type of stuff is that it gets you, like, in that mental space of, like, knowing what you have to do to prepare yourself for other opportunities. So, in just applying for that, now I'm looking at other stuff like, okay, I qualify for some of this. I might qualify for something over there. What up?
No, it's you speaking, like, you speak, it's because that's the beauty of the process.
Right. Now I know what it takes to plant that seed. I can go plant a bunch more other seeds and just keep it pushing. I like that analogy, bro. That's dope.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the process. Because a lot of times we won't ask for something because we feel like, oh, I'm not there yet. But what's required to be there is to ask for it. And then sometimes we ask for it and we're told no. So I don't know, like if you all listen to the podcast, like I spoke on this a couple of times on the podcast where it was like there's apartments in Dearborn that I really wanted to like live in, and so I saw there was an opening, and so I called my mans and I was like, what can I do to get in these apartments? And then he was like, well, what do you do? I'm like, I work with a nonprofit and I'm an entrepreneur. He was like, okay, cool, and he was like, well, how much you make? And, I told him what I make, and he was like, oh, no, man, that shit ain't gonna work, man. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, can I come see it? Like, how can I schedule a tour of the place? Like, I got availability next week. He was like, oh, man, that ain't gonna work, bro. That ain't gonna work. I'm like, damn. Like, I really felt so, like, but if I took that experience in a way where it's like, damn, I'm not worth anything, like I'm not where I want to be, then, it could have sucked. But what I took it as is like, oh, because he told me what the minimum requirement was to move into that place. So now I know, okay, this is where I'm at and this is where I need to get. But I wouldn't even have had that context had I not reached for it. You see what I'm saying?
Look, I know you was vibing and I hate to interrupt your flow. We're going to get right back to the episode in a second. But I interrupt the program for good reasoning. Look, if you are here listening to You Feel That, the absolute best emotional, mental, and spiritual empowerment podcast for creatives and entrepreneurs, chances are you're either being called to build something and are looking for where to start. You've already defined what it is that you're looking to build and are currently fleshing that out. And you're here looking for encouragement, motivation, and more context for yourself and your business to help you to continue to manifest. Or maybe you've been around the block a few times. You've taken something from ideation to creation. And in order to stay on top of your game and continue to win, you have to stay sharp. And you're here to make sure that you're perpetually the sharpest tool in the shed. So I got to thinking, what is one common problem that all three of these people share? Number one, knowing who we are. We don't know who we are. Even when you achieve something, even when you accomplish something, it can be hard to figure out who we are because once we accomplish something, things change. Life continuously changes. And in those changes, we continuously change. We cannot stay the same or else we become obsolete. And look, I could just hear your ears perking up. You may not know who you are right now in this season of your life. And number two, where we're going. Whether this is your first time setting out on your entrepreneurial adventure or you're a veteran who spent the block a few times, the destination always changes because when we get there, there's somewhere else to go. And then when we get there, there's somewhere else to go. So a process that allows for us to have a finger on the pulse of our internal compass, regardless of what the external circumstances are, is invaluable to our process of building anything great. All right, I hear your ears perking up again. You don't have a process. So look, you don't know who you are and you don't have no process. What if I told you I wrote a manual to help you discover these things within yourself? I hear those ears perking up again. The Handbook, a pocket guide for creating your desired reality and being a good human while you're at it, is available for purchase right now. Within this book, we dig into and develop a foundation within ourselves of perception, gratitude, understanding, completion, all of the timeless principles that will help you to discover your path for the first time or for the 12th time. This book will help you find yourself or remember who you are, as well as get clear on the pathway towards what it is you're looking to create. If this sounds like something you could benefit from, you need to go ahead and grab your copy. Head on over to brycethe3rd.com/the handbook. The link is conveniently located in the podcast description below wherever you're looking at or listening to this podcast. You can even go on Amazon and search on Amazon The Handbook by Bryce the Third and grab your copy. When I first got started on my entrepreneurial journey, I wish I had a handbook to help me discover who it is that I am and where it is that I'm going. And now you got one. Grab your copy of the handbook today and unlock the key to your clarity in business and in life. All right, back to the show.
Or just like the publishing on this deal that I just had where like they sent me 10, I called some lawyers and I'm like, what should I do? And it was like, well, you know, because of the portion of the song that you're on and how long the song is, you should ask for 20, but probably, you know, see if they'll do 15. And I started to just roll with it because I didn't want to lose the opportunity. Like, it's like, you know, like, oh, man, I'm just happy to be here. Like, I would have did this shit for free. Like, I'm just happy to be here. But the more and more I thought about it, it's like, nah, I got to ask for it. And I asked for it, and they was like, well, let's talk to people when we going to come back with it. And they came back. It was like, we'll give you 13. And that was a win. I'm like, shit, like, cool. But it's like we never get what we are looking for. We don't ask for it. And the only way that we going to level up is if we ask for more than what we think we're worth now, because that's how we learn what's required to be at that level, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So that's the tricky thing about, like, being in this age where you have, like, access to so many different things. It's hard to commit to being like, oh, I'm that person. And so, like, what we was talking about earlier, I do be dealing with imposter syndrome, and like I'm trying to like keep that in check because I don't ever want to be in a room where it's like I deny myself an opportunity just because I don't think that I can do it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just because I don't think that he would think, you know what I'm saying? Whatever weird shit that be going on in my head. So like, I generalize it. I'm a creative, but then depending on what space I'm in, like if I see that person is looking for a certain value and I have that value, then I'm that person. Fuck all that other shit. Yeah. Well, excuse all those other things.
We done dropped so many fucks and shits like this. It's just one of those episodes for real. But so, and you mentioned imposter syndrome the other day, and a couple of things have popped in my mind, right? So the first thing that popped in my mind was I'm kind of always an imposter. Like I think imposter has a negative connotation, and like I've dealt with imposter syndrome. It was like, oh, do I even belong here? But it's like if we're continuing to grow, like I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. So if it's a whole bunch of smart people in the room and I'm the least smartest, like am I gonna look at it like I don't belong here, or am I gonna look at it like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to level up? Like in the things I do, like I dip my toe in so many new things. Like I'm always kind of like the one that doesn't necessarily belong here, but the reason I'm here is because I want to belong here. And if you want things, you have to be in a room where those things are to be in those things, right? Yeah. And then I think the part two of that was nobody knows what the fuck they doing anyway. Like, nobody knows what they're doing anyway. The more rooms you get into, like, the more these rooms on the outside you look in, it's like, man, they're proficient. Man, they got it figured out. Like, you get into these rooms, they don't know what the fuck they doing. It's just the people that take action that people, like, give them stuff. And it's like, well, if you can do that, then do this. And now they're the person that did that. And now they're that person that you go to for that. So, like, I'm okay. I'm okay with not feeling like I belong if that's the price of being in rooms where it is that I desire to be.
Can I ask a question?
Shoot.
So, what would you consider yourself a person that is taking the road less traveled or the path of least resistance?
What the fuck do that mean?
Like the road less traveled is like I'm going against the grain, doing something different in hopes that the reward is going to be far greater than it ever would have been if I just went with the herd, versus the path of least resistance, where it's just like I'm doing what feels most natural, maybe easy.
I think the question insinuates that things are black and white. And I think that I'm probably on both ends of the spectrum.
It's gray.
And like when you talk, it's gray. And when you talk about like balance, like I don't necessarily believe in balance. I believe in the act of balancing, knowing when I'm a little too this way, that inclination that lets me know, oh, I should pivot and go a little bit this way. And then when I'm a little too this way, having that inclination, that little voice that lets me know I should pivot and go this way. Like I believe in that. But like least resistance, I think there's a lot of friction that I've caused myself and just doubting myself and just not allowing what is to be. So
I can relate.
I appreciate, like a lot of times, like it has to be her. Like it's got to be blood, sweat, and tears. I got to go out and like to make $100,000. Like I got to woo. Where I've rubbed shoulders with people who've made 6-figure days and didn't lift a finger for you.
Right.
You know, so it's like it doesn't necessarily have to be tough and rough, right?
Right.
But then on the other side, like all this for me started with like music. So like it just started like I was told by someone that I really care about when I was trying to get out of the plant. And I was doing everything from Amazon to book sales to just shit for money for real. And then she asked me like, if you could do one thing, what would it be? Like, and money is not the issue. Like, what would you do? And I was like, I'll do my music, of course. You know. And she was like, well, go out, set out for a year and do that. And if it don't work, you know, then you can't say you didn't try. Yeah. And now look, you know, like that's turned into everything that you see in front of you.
Right.
You know. So
I really like this concept that we've been developing, where it's like cultivating your terms of success, like your conditions of what it takes to be successful, so that when you quote unquote get there, you can continue to perpetuate it without like killing yourself. Like, I feel like you shouldn't have to like die, die a little bit on the inside to get to where you're going. Maybe it happens sometimes, but I don't know. I like the idea that it doesn't have to be hard. Like, it doesn't have to be difficult. Like, but you're right. It is a balancing type thing. Like, I think back to how I was saying I played basketball back and forward in high school. That probably would have been the least, like the path of least resistance if I just stuck with it. You feel me? But because of like my head, I'm like, I don't want to do what people expect me to do. I want to do something different. You know, maybe I made it harder for myself, but I don't know. It's all about the experience, man. I'm grateful for every single experience that I've had, you know. So yeah. But it's a balancing thing. I agree with that. So
you are a very introspective person, and it shows in your process. It shows in your creativity, in your art, in your poetry, in your business acumen. Do you have a lot of friends?
Yeah, I got a couple friends. It's like you and some people here. It's a few of them. Hey, I got like a lot of business partners as well that like I consider friends. Our core values align, so I don't see myself doing business with anybody that I couldn't call a friend. Like, we might not necessarily be friends. We busy doing our own thing, but you know, if like, why not? You know.
Historically, has making friends been like a seamless process for you, or has that been something that you've had to like intentionally cultivate in your life?
I don't know. I don't. So I'll say this: I don't remember like there ever being a time in my life where it's like, damn, I don't have any friends around. That's a lie. I take that back. It was a time, but like it was like the transition of like understanding like who was really for me and who was just like there like as like a distraction or like not really supporting like what I was trying to do. So wait, what was the question?
Is making friends a seamless process for you? That boy got caught up.
Yeah, I'd say so. Because it's like I'm not ever really like focused on like making friends. You feel me? I'm just like I'm attracted to the energy. Like I just like doing shit with cool people and yeah.
So I think that's where I am now, but also like historically myself So I'm a person in recovery from alcoholism and substance use. I got sober back in 7/27/2013 is my recovery date, and even then, like the friendships that I made up until that point, like were kind of just, I mean, these are the people I grew up with. Like these are people I came up with, and it wasn't necessarily about like our commonalities. Like a lot of like music always played a role in it.
Yeah.
But like it was this thing that I thought I was gonna have to do. Like when I entered recovery, like I was gonna have to pick up the phone and call everybody. Like, bro, I can't hang out with you no more. But what ended up happening was like naturally, like people kind of just gravitated their own way, and I didn't have to make that phone call. And then when that took place, and I started living life intentionally, I came across this phenomena where a big reason why I used to use drugs and drink was to numb up like this the mind of introspection, like that. The whole point of this podcast, the title of this podcast is You Feel That, because like that was like one of the first questions that I would feel like as a kid was like I would look around at everybody like, damn, y'all don't feel that? Like damn, like why do I feel like all these fucking feelings? Like and so when I took away the numbing agents, now like I'm plot right back into the middle of feeling it, right? So it's like in the midst of that came this thing where my friends, like in my intentional life, like in recovery, I looked around and I had a lot of like women friends. Like I didn't have a lot of men friends, and like black men, making new connections with other black men is already like a process, right? But for me, like it was like the emotional nature like of which I operate, I deal very much so in like watery, like really like if we talk about it, I'm getting deep in like spiritually into like feminine and masculine like things. Like I got a lot of feminine in me for real. Right. And it like feminine and masculine exist in one vessel. Like they don't
coexist,
have to coexist. And I'm learning that balance. But for me, like I've been heavy on like emotion. So I would look around at like my peer groups, like the people I would kick it with the most would like be women. And so really, to be honest with you, like I got a lot of like people that I would associate in the creative circuit, but it wasn't until we clicked, like you have been like my first like man friend.
Man friend, cool.
And I'm declaring it in front of the world. Like I'm declaring my love for you.
I love you too, man. Thanks. Hey.
But like this, and just like as this relationship like continues to like cultivate and develop, like I think it's just really cool to like have a man that, you know, I can call up and it's like, oh, I can talk about like some of these introspective things. Or we can talk about, we have a safe space to talk about whatever. And it's like, nah, man, shut up. That shit ain't, no, we ain't, no, they talk about, you know. So how has your relationship with like making connections with men or, you know, black men or like just as a man, like how has that been for you? How's that been for you in your life?
So it's some parallels there. I went through a phase where it's like I had a group of friends around me, and you know we kick it, you know, just post high school, you know, like them weird couple years where it's like, where am I going to college? What am I doing? And then I joined the military. I joined the National Guard. I'm overseas, and I'm realizing like, damn, bro, like it's like I'm overseas, and like all these people that I was kicking it with, like they haven't even really checked in with me. Like it's when it came down to it, it's like pretty much me and my mom's. And then on top of that, I'm getting into the artistic side of things, and you know it's rough in the beginning. Like you know you trying to get to know yourself and know your sound, and like I just felt like I wasn't getting that support. So when I came home from that deployment, that was my like the clear point in time where I started like redesigning the space around myself. Like these people, it's not working. It's like whatever's going on, it's not working. Pushing people away, and then I started coming around spaces with like, you know, other entrepreneurs, other artists, and then it was a weird point in time where it was like it felt like it was just me because I'm meeting all these people and they doing cool things, but because they're doing like their cool important shit, it's like we don't have time to just like kick it like I was before with like my first group of friends. Like we don't have time for that. Like so it felt like it was just me, but like really I just had to give it time. And then I ran into my first engineer. I ran into Tyler Taz, and then through him I ran into Sev, and this is like 5-6 years ago. And then through making music and all that, I get to doing open mics, and then next thing you know, I walk in and I see the crowd clear, and I see Bryce the Third like performing and shadow boxing, and I'm like, oh shit, like he looks cool, like and then I start reaching out to people, and that's kind of how it's happened for me. But it's funny that you mentioned the gender part, because I definitely hung out with like more men before, I would say. And then after, when I started redesigning, like I'm attracted to like feminine energy just on like a social level. So I don't know really what that's about for real. Maybe I'm a only child raised by a single mom. Maybe it's something to do with that. But I mean, I got cool dude friends too. Like, yeah. And then as far as like the ethnicity part of it, it has been a process to like learn and understand that. But I think I really got an understanding of that through sports, like playing junior college basketball, like really growing with a team of people and like learning them, and in turn learning myself and like kind of where I fit in amongst that. And like, yeah, it's been an interesting journey. It has been a little bit difficult to make other like black friends. Like I'd probably say early on in the beginning, because of my upbringing, going to a predominantly white school and shit like that. But overall, I just learned to like let shit happen naturally. Create. Maybe anytime I want something that I don't know where to get from, I try to create the platform and tell people, we doing this here, and then I meet those people. And it just happened just like that, bro. Yeah. Just like this.
Yeah. And so I think first of all, thank you for sharing that process. Yeah. And I think there's like a lot of levels to it. I think there's a lot of elements, like the black, the man. Like there's
Yeah. Right.
I didn't really have that like that team sport experience, because I was like anti-team coming up, because like my daddy and his brother, like they are like super football dudes, and like if the game come on and you in the room with them, like nothing you saying is heard, because it's like, man, you might be in the middle of talking. It's like, yeah, man. So the other day, man, I was feeling down and depressed, and I was like, oh,
he about to drop 36. He about to drop 36 points.
Like,
yeah,
all right, man.
I feel it.
Right,
I didn't grow up in that either, and I had to realize that like I didn't have like basketball IQ. Cause I didn't have I was raised by a single mom, so I didn't have no brothers or nothing. I didn't have a culture around me that was like super into sports. So what happens is like that's important. Like having that ingrained into you, like as a level of fun. Like it's fun, like to sit down here and just study sports, like percentages and stats and players and plays. And like once you actually get to doing it, it incorporates into like the like your basketball IQ. You feel me? It's like it's a one half of it is doing it, and one half of it is knowing it. And what I learned for me personally, it was more about like proving to myself that I could do it, and it was more about being a part of a team. Like that, like it was really that part. Like the basketball, it could have been anything. Like the basketball part could have been anything. Like it's just, I guess that's just what happened first, like basketball, you know what I'm saying? So, and it was important to me becoming who I was, like proving to myself that I can grow into this person that I needed to be. So, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so what would you say to the person looking to make friends, and or even like to get even specific in the context, like to the man, like what would you say to somebody looking for opportunities to get open and transparent with other men? Like what tips and pointers and advice and suggestions would you give to somebody in that circumstance where they're looking for a connection and don't necessarily know how to establish it?
do it. Just like Nike, you feel me? Like I think something in the marketing for this was about just doing it ugly, like just putting the intention out there, and then people will respond. Yeah. It's not even like a if thing. If you like put the intention out there and you position yourself around those things, then they'll come to you.
Yeah. Hey. I think like there's this element too, and I kind of just want to touch on this before we move forward. But I think there's this element too, like being black, being a man, but then being a black man. It's like there's certain levels of like in black culture. I think like there's already like a lot of unaddressed trauma
Facts.
that makes it into the like black experience. So we don't like think we're new to like opening up and like being open and transparent about our experiences where we won't get like, and I think a part of that is because we like don't nobody want to be hurt for real, you know, and there's a lot of hurt to begin with. So like a lot of times you'll see in people's eyes like, oh, you done seen some things, you done seen some shit, you know, and without the proper resources to be able to process the shit that you've seen, like that could be a lot. Like, and it's like going to when you get the Christmas lights out for Christmas, and when you first buy them from the store, like they're easy. You just hang them on a tree. But you put them up for a couple of seasons, pull them up for a couple of seasons, pull them out. Then you pull them out, and now they boiled up. And now it's a process of like untangling the lights. And like that can, because the lights haven't been attended to for a year or 2 or 3. Right. And that's kind of like what I think like emotions are. If we don't take the proper time to pull these things out and look at them and process them as they're coming about, as we're having these experiences like getting our ass whooped and pretending like we somewhere else or like disassociating, like if we've never pulled these things out, when it comes to like this circumstance where I'm meeting a person for the first time, like shit, I don't know what to say. Yeah, what up, bro? Yeah. You know, like I'm a posture because I don't even know where to start. Like there's so much going on with where to start. Right. So I think that's a big part of the process of like making friends, of starting a career, of doing something that we're excited about. Yeah. Like a lot of us, like we in survival mode and we don't even know what that is, because it's like the fish in the water, where it's like how's the water said to fish to the other fish, and the other fish is like, what water? Because like I'm just living life. Here, I'm just living life. Yeah, you know, we don't know. We
not
don't
even looking at it as trauma.
Yeah. We're not aware of these things that exist. You know, when that can play a role into like us connecting and learning to communicate in a way that allows for us to be vulnerable and open enough to allow for a connection with anybody, but let alone like black man to black man for you.
Right. Yeah. I think it's important to like prove to yourself like that you are capable of like growing into different spaces, and that provides a confidence to where it's like if you around so and so and they don't rock with you, then it's not you, it's them. Like I'm dope as fuck. I don't know what his problem is. I don't know what her problem is, but like putting yourself out there is planting that seed, and then if people respond to it, that's good, you know. But I'm just out here planting these seeds. I'm gonna stick with that, bro. I really like that.
Run with that. That's crazy. I used to go to the juvenile detention center to talk to the boys in the substance abuse pod, and like that was the one thing that like they held on to, and it became like rhetoric like inside of the pod. You come back like, yeah, bro, you gotta plant them seeds, bro. You gotta plant them seeds. I'm like, damn, y'all listen.
It's real though. Yeah. And then on that note too, in terms of the culture. I'm glad that you brought that up, because like very soon, I don't have a date yet, but we're having I'm dropping a single. It's called Not, and the event is going to be called Not a Release Party, a celebration of black love. So the themes in the song have to do with black love, cultivating a space for black love to be encouraged, not just like on a romantic level, but on a social level too. And I'm going to be doing that with Lolly. And I was gonna bring it up to you, but I didn't want to bring it up like while you were planning for this. You feel me? So I'm hoping that you can be a part of that. Yeah. But like I said, thanks, man. But like I said, it's just like if I desire something, I try to just make the platform so it can come, you know. But then also, it's not gonna work if everybody is out trying to make a platform. So sometimes it's important to like put the work in and see if there's certain spaces for that already, because it could expedite the process.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of ways to do it, man.
Yeah, I think a lot of it starts with us. I think a lot of it starts with us. Like we like the world is a mirror of the work that we put into ourselves, and I think like we can only see others as much as we see ourselves.
Yeah.
So like to take that time to feed into ourselves and like begin a relationship with ourselves, which we're gonna learn a lot more about today with the next couple of things that's coming up.
Right.
So we've the 45-minute conversation with you, bro, flew by for real.
Yeah.
And this is the point of the show where we got this wireless mic out here, and if anybody out in the audience has a question for either Tori or for me, feel free to grab the mic and fire away.
Yeah, but to go back to what we was talking about earlier, like when we met, like you was probably Tyler. You was probably the first like black artist that I grew close with, like doing all of this. Like, bro, like I responded to your energy. It was crazy. So.
Say I was the first black artist. You got distracted.
Yeah, no, I thought she was about to say something or no.
No, I was just getting. I'm putting her to work.
Well, yeah, I was. So like, but even with that, it was like, I watched and I observed you, the way you operate, the shows you do, your message, your content, your music, the quality, and I'm like, I rock with bro. Like I rock with bro. Like not based off of bro rocking with me. Like I just rock with bro. So like I reached out to you, just based off of that. Like if it's not a good space for us to like connect and work on this song, then that just is what it is. But like that's not gonna be the make or break of me like supporting your content or like appreciating your art. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like it's not. Yeah, it's just. I think a lot of people make that mistake of setting certain expectations, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
When really it's just show love, man. It don't gotta be that deep. Like it doesn't have to turn into like a whole empire. It don't even gotta turn into this what we doing right now. Like just show love, man. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah. I got a funny story. But while so turn the mic on, baby, and then anybody who has a question, grab the mic from Ryan, and she gonna tee you up right now. But yeah, so funny story though. I didn't even I forgot what show it was that you see me at. It might have been Pros or something like that.
Yeah, Vibes Uplifted.
Yeah. But it was just a period in my life where like I was going absolutely crazy, just being open, you know. And he had hit me up, and like he hit me up for a session at the Penobscot building, and I really didn't know who the fuck he was. Like I really couldn't even put I couldn't even put a name, like a face and a name together. Like, but I was like, I'm about to just go connect. And I had a couple of meetings like that too. I ended up popping up on somebody like in Roseville, and I thought I was going, because he was really tapped into like my business stuff. So I thought I was going to like have a business session with him. And he was like, so you ready to record? I'm like, bro, I didn't even know that you had a studio. Like, I was just open to connection, like however that would come. So with Tori, like, he was like, come down to the Penobscot building. I ain't know who he was for real, but it's like I'm just at a point in my life where I'm open for connection, and I think that has allowed for opportunities in life to flourish. But it wasn't necessarily like I didn't lead with like what could I get from this. Like I just led with like how could I contribute to the space, and I think that's how like a lot of my network is right now. And like I hate the word networking because it feels so icky, and you can always tell when somebody comes up to you because they know that you have something that you can offer them. So it's like, hey, my name is woo woo woo, and anything that you got going on that I can blah 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 blah. It's like nah, like that's weird. Like I don't even want to make no connection with you. Whereas like when I'm just showing up to see how I can contribute to the space, that's how I make friends, and how like people call you and fly you to Houston because you know. You like that started with just me making a video on Instagram and like I really rock with y'all music, and they was like, well, we rock with your music, you know. I got people in Montreal, same thing. I reached out like I really like your art. He was like, bro, I like your art, you know, come to Montreal, you know. So just like how can we be a contribution, and then what ends up happening is because we're that person, we end up attracting people who want to be a contribution to us.
Absolutely.
We got a question? I got a question. First, I'd like to say congratulations on your book.
Hey.
You did a great job. Got this out. As far as the healing process that you're talking about on the podcast here, in these last couple years and since the pandemic, What have you experienced more of, far as I would say the youth and the quiet, like you said, for some of the young black men and all some of the young white men, some of the young women? Have they come to you or send information to you about how they were feeling during this time, during the pandemic, or how you could actually help them heal during this time?
You want to go first, or I'll go first?
No, you got it. Yeah.
The main thing. So there's a couple of levels that I've seen reflected from people's experience that reached out to me. One is loneliness, because of the way that society has changed and the way that interpersonal relationships have changed, the way that connection has changed. It became a thing to care for somebody is to give them distance, where it used to be to care for somebody is to be around them. And like this transition has been tough on people. And another thing that people specifically reach out to me about is using external things and learning how not to use as many external things. Like a lot of people reach out to me about like alcoholism, or like I'm drinking too much. I'm like, how did you do it? Because I'm so open about my story and share my story. Like, how did you do it? How did you continue to do it? And I'm reading Brené Brown, the Gifts of Imperfection, and this chapter that I read recently, she said that she would have a beef. She didn't have a beef, but like she really didn't necessarily feel like she belonged in the recovery community. And she had this definition that she have found that really had worked for her to like identify, which is the take the edge off aholic. And there's a lot of edge in this space now. There's a lot of edge, be it like the way that we work. Like we've transferred to like Zoom, and now I got to look at you on this computer all day. And there's teachers that are teaching on Zoom, and you know kids aren't really active in class, and the parents aren't, because the parents can't be active in that because they got to do their work. And it's just a lot of stuff, a lot of changes that's happened within COVID. So really like the loneliness and the existential avoidance, because it's hard to like. It can be hard to really like be in it in the midst of change. Like change is complicated. Like change is a complicated process. And a lot of times people won't change unless it's forced upon them. You know, like you see that in families that we don't never get together until somebody died. It's like this big catalyst, like this big change. And now everybody's getting, yeah, man, we should really get together. We should really connect. We should really do this thing that's different than the shit that we've been doing for the past 10 years because this catalyst has happened. Like we avoid change because it's not comfortable, you know, but like learning to embrace and lean into the uncomfortability of life allows for us to like lean into change that adds to our quality of life, if that makes sense. So a lot of people reach out about that, and when it comes down to that, like I'm doing my best to create a lot of spaces, meditation, mindfulness spaces like this where we come and, you know, we're not gathered at a funeral, we're gathered to kind of have a conversation, a live conversation about mental health and emotional wellness and connectivity and friendship, and, you know, all I can really do is plant my seed. You know, I don't have no control over what grows, but, you know, we just plant the seeds for real. Great question.
Yeah, I don't really promote myself as like a mentor, like a healer or like a coach. I appreciate when I have the opportunity to be that, but like for the most part, like throughout the pandemic, like I mean, the pandemic changed a lot of people's lives, and I was one of them. I was able to expand my audience to Lansing, and then like. Right at it's actually funny, the brink of the pandemic, like the dawn of it. I mean, it was like December 2019, right? The three of us was together, like doing the day in the life video up at Game Time. Yeah. Like I think that was the first time the three of us really did like anything like as a group. And that was just about like reflecting on our accomplishments with that project, getting a bunch of different people from the Detroit scene on the same project, and just I wanted to just have everybody come out and acknowledge that like we did some shit, and like a lot of people in that project just tapped in for that song and didn't even realize like what it was like extensively. So I wanted to make that clear, like yeah, we just accomplished something, you know, but I feel like that's kind of my role to shine light on the positives. So throughout the pandemic, I tried to create spaces. Well, I didn't try. I did create spaces where people could connect as safely as possible, you know. But it gave birth to like a lot of different businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs, and it was a time where people really needed to connect as much as possible, like without connecting. So I started reaching out to people, figuring out how we can navigate that, and that's what we did. But yeah, I mean, that's, I guess. Well, that was your question, right? Like, okay. I just be talking, man. I don't even know. But yeah.
Somewhere in there was the answer to the question.
Yeah. We'll play it back and figure out where the answer was.
All right, we got another question?
Yes, I have a question. So, looking for some advice from two entrepreneurs. Just going back on what you guys were talking about as far as planting seeds, but also reaching for your worth, right? So you have a scenario where you set out and you want to reach 100 people, but you reach 20 people, and now it's time to pivot for the next event. So do you pivot at your same level of worth and you say, okay, I'm going to reach 100 people, or do you go up? And that next one, do you say, I'm going to reach 200 people, even though the first time you didn't reach your 100? What do you do?
You go up. That's my opinion. Go up. But I'm sure it's situational. Like with me, I know I had a good concept, a good idea, and that a lot of people could find value in it, but it wasn't reaching a lot of people. But to me, just because it didn't reach a lot of people, it doesn't degrade the value. I think it's actually like now more valuable because people don't even know about it. So like that's the way I've kind of like structured it in my mind. So and not only that, it's a series of time where like you were doing it, and in that time you got better at doing what you're doing, even if like the marketing part of it didn't come together, you feel me? But you've learned lessons and you know more now. So in my opinion, yes, is more like you reach higher, and yeah. But the pivoting portion is largely a feeling process. You can speak on that, or?
Oh yeah. I can speak on that for sure. Pivot game got to be crazy when you're an entrepreneur, when you're a creative. Pivot game got to be crazy. I think the biggest thing that we do is get the feedback, because the feedback that we get allows for us to pivot in a way that is in alignment with what the community tells us. So in that feedback, as like Gray said, we can get a whole bunch of different variables. Like maybe the community isn't the right community for what it is that I'm offering. Maybe, I need to come down on the price of what it is that I'm offering, which is 95% not the case. Like I would never suggest coming down. I just would suggest like finding the appropriate audience. But it's a process, and like the best, like I would go spiritual with it, where it's like don't attach your worth to like what the feedback is, because the feedback is just a feedback. It's impersonal. The feedback is going to give you, like, you're going to get the feedback from what it is that you do. And the beautiful thing about feedback is there's information within the feedback. But a lot of people will, I'm about to get crazy. So it's important to have intention. What do I want? What do I want? I know a lot of people that do this music shit and was an open mic warrior for 15 years and now discourage any and everybody from doing music because music don't work. What do you want? You was just showing up with your dogs, and like this was something that it was cool for every Friday night. You never had no intention. So the definition of insanity is showing up and doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Like first of all, you don't even know what you want, but say you do know what you want, and it's like, oh, okay, I want to be able to feed my family with my artistic endeavors.
Facts.
Well, then paying $5 for these open mics over and over again and not doing anything here but drinking Cavassier, is that what people drink? I don't fucking know. But drinking and kicking it with my dogs, like the whole time I'm there, like you're not doing what's in alignment of what your intention is. So to have intention as well as take action allows for the feedback to come that allows for us to siphon the information that allows for us to go to the next level. So if I have, in your specific context, like I have this event and I've set the intention in this event, because there's so many things that can come with an event too. In this event, I want to sell this many tickets. In this event, I want to get this many emails because this is what I hope to do with the people who attend this event. In this event, I want to expose as many people as possible to this thing. In this event, I want to make it a free event because I want as many people in the door, and I want to record it to make it look bigger than it is. Like, to have the intention behind the event lets you know if only 20 people showed up, whether it's a success or not. And then that allows for you to take that information and pivot on it in a way that aligns with your intention. Yeah. And that's what entrepreneurs do. That's what we do. Like, we set out to build something specific, but like, I've only learned that from not being specific. Like, the contrast for me is like, shit, I'm just here. And I had so much of that and I wasn't getting the result that I wanted. Then it's like, bro, what do I want? Like, I was forced to ask myself, what do I want? And then forcing myself to ask, what do I want? Now it's like, okay, when I do this and I don't get this feedback because this is what I want to see back, then it's like, okay, this is what I got to change. This is what I got to pivot.
That really marks like a new chapter for me too as well, because like, if I'm gonna be honest with you, like I don't consider myself to be a successful entrepreneur at this point, because my intention wasn't to be a successful entrepreneur. My intention was to make music. I came into this world of business through music, and I wanted to be a good artist. And through that became it's bigger than music. It's marketing. It's, it's bringing people together. And I saw the bigger picture. But up until like very, very recently, I didn't realize that like I had to shift my intention. Like, I've made great music. I've been paid to do shows, and that feels good. I've brought artists together. I've recorded. I've done all these things, but I have to shift my intention to like I want my finances to reflect me being a successful artist. That wasn't my intention. My intention was to be a successful artist. I've done that. I've made art. People have expressed that it has affected them emotionally, and they've expressed their appreciation, and I know that people enjoy my music. So now my intention is to have my finances reflect that. And like, intention, I feel like that's huge. Like, I literally just had this conversation with myself like a few days ago. I'm like, oh, like, and then just like it was with the music, like when I started being an artist, like I wasn't that good. Like, I was just going through like some older music videos, like from like what, 4 or 5 years ago, longer than that. And like, I wasn't good at first, like, but I had to get better, and I did get better, and now I'm here. And it's just like that with the next chapter, with the finances. Like, oh, I've been getting money, I've been getting paid to do things, but like, I can do it way better than this. But this is just the beginning. And now that I have the intention of getting better at like this part, I'm going to get better at that part. And that's like a super like recent realization of mine.
Oh, we having breakthroughs today.
Yeah.
We having breakthroughs
yes,
today.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Good question. All right, we got time for one more question.
I've got a question.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, so I had a question related to the theme of like finding and maintaining like identity affirming friendships. Because I think a lot of the time when we are finding, or like when we want to find like higher quality people to surround ourselves with, there's a big change that happens inside of us first that kind of catalyzes that. So my question is, what is one like go-to thing that you do, or sort of like, what is something that you can consistently rely on that helps you build and maintain a strong friendship with yourself? Like, what is sort of like the, when you're looking for higher quality people to surround yourself with, like, what is it that you call up within yourself, and how do you do that when you want to, am I?
No, that's pretty clear. I mean.
Oh, sweet. All right.
You first.
Take it away.
So for me, there's continuity in conversation with myself. I've had experiences where, in order to contribute to different friendships, like that conversation has had to cease, and I didn't like the way that felt. And then I would have to like go back to the drawing board and like continue that conversation with myself. How can I say this simpler? Like, there's certain things like I can tell, and back to the balancing act. Like, I can tell like I'm kind of lacking when I'm not journaling. like when I'm not meditating, when I'm not consciously when I'm not consciously practicing the self-care things that I've come to discover help me to continue this conversation with myself. And I think like when we were speaking about when I was in Houston earlier this week and I had that crying spell, I think I was participating in something, interpersonal relationship where I felt like a lot of my free time I was spending like showing up for that interpersonal relationship instead of showing up for myself. And maybe it had been about 2 or 3 days where like I was like really focused on myself. So I had my journal out at my daughter was making fun of me because I was meditating at her cheerleading practice today. But like, you got to get it in where you fit it in for real. But I had my journal at her cheerleading, like because there's so much that's coming out that I haven't been talking to myself for real. And then sitting in meditation and allowing the feelings to come and sitting with those feelings and unpacking them and almost like unraveling those Christmas lights that have been kind of building up for the past month or two that I haven't paid attention to have been revealing. But like this is a conversation that, and I'm learning, but this is a boundary that I need to have in interpersonal relationship, in developing and cultivating new relationships. Like there has to be a boundary there where I have to be able to converse with myself. And if like the time that I need to be able to feed into myself like feels to you as disrespecting our interpersonal relationship, then maybe like there's a misalignment here because I need that opportunity. I need the ability to just disappear for a day or 2 or 3 and kind of like, or have a relationship where it's like in this moment while we're experiencing our interpersonal relationship, I can journal, I can meditate, and I can duck off. I can do those things that feed me. But like I said, I can't see somebody any more than I've seen myself. And like, seeing assumes that once I see, I've saw. Like seeing is the process of continuously looking, and I grow exponentially, and there's always something new to look at. So I would say, long answer short is just continuing to have that conversation with myself. And for me, specifically in this season of my life, is making sure that I'm journaling, making sure that I'm meditating, making sure that I'm unpacking the emotions that I'm experiencing. And yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I was confused on the question, and I was hoping Bryce's answer would like update me on what the question was, but I'm still not sure. Is it like setting boundaries between connections with people, or like? Oh.
So what she asked was, what are some things that you do to take care of yourself in order to contribute to being open to new relationships and cultivating new connections? Is that a good translation? Perfect. She gives me a thumb up.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good segue into like the next part, ain't it? But like my answer would be like pretty basic, like just basic things, taking care of myself.
Brushing your teeth.
Brushing my teeth, that's a good thing. Working out when I can, and doing things that make me happy. But like just overall, just like making sure I'm in a good headspace before I try to exert energy into other people. So yeah. Just basic things, man. Try to focus on my diet. All these things I'm still trying to improve on. Like I'm still trying to work out more. I'm still trying to eat better. And yeah, that's a part of the journey that I'm on right now.
Good answer. Great question. Great question.
It's a good question.
All right. Oh, you got a question?
Yeah.
All right, real quick.
My bad.
No, I don't want to rush you. Just
congratulations, Bryce, on the book, and then my mom says congratulations too.
Hey.
What's some advice that you guys would both give to creative that allows anxiety and self-doubt to keep them from growing?
I think this is the perfect question to end the podcast with.
Yeah, all right. Well, before we end it, I just want to say thank you again for having me on. I'll get you more information. And if anybody's interested, tap in with me. This is not a release party. This is a celebration of Black love. It'll be during the 3rd week of February, so just in a few weeks. So yeah, just tap in with me. But yeah, this has been cool, man. You should do more like this for sure.
Hell yeah. So
yes, sir.
What's your answer to that question? You're like, what's the question? He did all that.
Wait, I thought we was done. I thought we was segueing.
No, yeah, just ask your question. We're not gonna answer it, and then we're gonna leave.
Okay. Cool.
No, so for the creative that deals with anxiety and self-doubt, I would say put your focus into the action, and let go of the results. Like if we focus on what it is that we create, like we will create the opportunity. A lot of times we think we know how things are gonna fall through, but a lot of times, in my experience, what falls through is what I was definitely not expecting. But what fell through wouldn't have been able to fall through if it wasn't for me taking the first couple of steps and like being open to the process, like getting in the process. So the whole thing about energy is like energy has to move. Like energy has to move. We can't sit. And as artists, as myself, like I've had the experience of sitting in the crib and like plotting. Like I've had whole albums that were like in a folder, and like back when I used to write on paper, were like stapled pieces of paper, and like each song was like 12 stapled pieces of paper. And like these are albums that never seen the light of day because I didn't do shit with it. Like at the end of the day, like get into the process, and get into the energy, and the energy will always support you. The energy will always give you feedback, and that feedback will be what helps to aid in your confidence. Because like now, when I make a move, now I've had so many experiences of going in, being anxious about like the process when I'm first going in and not knowing how it's gonna work out, and then getting on the other side of it and it was like, oh, this was perfectly perfect, or like it worked out exactly how it was supposed to, or it's like, oh, the people I thought knew more than me don't know shit, and like everybody's just figuring it out. Like I've had enough of those experiences to where like I'm just willing to just go out here and just look ugly and just do it, and I think that's the only thing that differentiates me and somebody who's not doing something that may even have better ideas than I have, but they're just not executing. They're just not executing. They're not allowing the energy to play its part. Like we have a part in bringing our ideas to manifestation, and that part is just using our hands. The other part is the energy working its way out, but we can't allow for that if we don't get into the energy. So
and then
I hope to answer
think
your question.
Perspective is huge too. Like the anxiety is excitement. Like I got anxiety, to an extent right now. Like I'm tight, I'm a little cold, but I'm excited to be here. I know some cool things. Like we recording. Like anything I say is like it's gonna be put out for anybody to hear. Like like it's nervousness, but it's really just excitement because you care about what you're doing. So you want people to receive it in the right way. But if you don't do it, then they're not gonna receive it at all, and you won't have like a reference point to grow from. So just like hopping in the pool, and then like just figuring out as you go.
I'm gonna jump off that, and we're gonna end with this. There's this realization that I had recently through journaling and through continuing that conversation with myself, that I got some feedback that I'm afraid to lead. Like I'm afraid to be a leader. As much as I put myself like in front of, and as much as I put myself as the face of, and as much as I put myself and I'm loud about it, like I'm afraid to lead. And what myself told me also is that, you can be scared and lead at the same time. You can be scared and take action at the same time. Like those two things aren't exclusive. Like the people who make the most impact are people who don't even necessarily know like how it's gonna work out, but they just fucking do it. Do it scared. Do it ugly.
That Game of Thrones quote.
Give me the Game of Thrones quote.
My man said from Game of Thrones. Who watched Game of Thrones? Y'all watch Game of Thrones? Hey, so he said, you know what I'm about to say, don't you? I think we talked about it. So he said, you have to be brave. And then the dude was like, how can I be brave if I'm afraid? And he was like, that's the only time you can be brave. Because if you're not afraid, then you're not being brave. You just doing it. Like you're just doing what you're doing. You're not challenging yourself. So.
And on that note, this has been the first live episode of You Feel That. I want to thank you all for coming out and spending this time with us. I'm very excited about what Lamaria has for you all. to pay a couple of bills. If you are listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, go on and leave me a rating and review. I'm not sure how much the algorithm works for the rating and reviews. Who cares? But at the end of the day, when I'm looking and listening to a new podcast, one of the main things that gets me excited about a podcast is when I see people waxing poetically paragraphs of how much this podcast has done for them and how much it has helped them. So if you could go to Apple Podcasts and leave me a rating, like a paragraph rating, that'll be perfect. Get this podcast in more ears. I just dropped my book, The Handbook.
Yes, sir.
How to create your desire, your pocket guide to creating your desired reality, and how to be a good human while you're at it. And it is available on Amazon and on my website right now for purchase. You can, I will link that somewhere in the podcast notes. You can click that link. It'll take you straight to the link to grab the book. And yeah. And that's a wrap. Make some noise for yourself.